He flew across the world to find love. What he found instead was a mirror, and none of us liked what we saw in it. What if I told you that one of the most watched reality TV moments of 2020 wasn't entertaining? It was a warning sign that millions of people watched and called entertainment. This was the case for Big Ed and Rose from 90 Day Fiancé. And by the end of this video, you are going to look at this story with totally new eyes. Because this is not simply a tale about a little man who flew to the Philippines to meet a young lady. This is about patterns, about power, about how reality TV packages manipulation as drama and asks you to enjoy it with popcorn. And the most disturbing part? Big Ed's story didn't start or end with Rose. There was someone before her, a young woman who never got to walk away as cleanly as Rose did. So let's go from the very beginning. Who is Big Ed? What really happened in the Philippines? What came after the cameras stopped rolling? And why does it matter beyond the drama? Who is Big Ed? Big Ed's true name is Edward Allen Brown. At the time of his appearance in Season 4 of 90 Day Fiancé, before the 90 Days, which aired in early 2020, Big Ed was 54 years old. Standing at about 4 feet 11 inches, Big Ed suffers from Klippel-Feil syndrome, a rare syndrome characterized by fusion of some vertebrae in the neck region. It's something he has lived with his entire life, and it made him a target for cruelty growing up. Now here's something important, and I want to be fair about this. At this stage, Big Ed was going through emotional turmoil as well. This is because he revealed the fact that he was visiting a therapist. What could be the possible cause of him doing this? The answer is codependency. Codependency is a term which refers to an individual's inability to maintain a healthy relationship with others. Such individuals always try to control others, and that, right there, is the thread that runs through this entire story. Ed had been married once before. That marriage lasted only 2 years, and he admitted he ended it by cheating on his wife. He has a daughter from that marriage named Tiffany, who was 29 at the time of filming. After the divorce, Ed stayed mostly single, until he connected online with a 23-year-old woman in the Philippines named Rosemary, better known as Rose. Within just 3 months of chatting online, Ed claimed he was in love. He started sending her gifts every week. Sheets, pillows, all sorts of things. By his own account, he spent over $5,000 in gifts and shipping costs alone in those first few months. His family and friends were skeptical. They thought he was being scammed. But Ed pushed forward anyway. What his family didn't know, and what Rose certainly didn't know, was that Ed was already keeping secrets. Secrets that would eventually unravel everything. The Philippines, where the mask slipped. Before Ed even boarded the plane, he was already building the relationship on a foundation of lies. He lied about his height, telling Rose he was 5 feet 2 inches when he was actually closer to 4 feet 11 inches. But he also kept from her his lack of interest in having any more children. This was not known by Rose, a young wife whose heart's desire was a big family. But what was his reasoning? "I did not want to lose her," he said, and all that is needed to know about him was revealed in that one statement. It did not take long after Ed reached the airport in the Philippines before Rose realized there was something wrong. He was not what she had expected him to be. She had essentially been catfished, and she was already too deep into the situation to just walk away. Things went downhill almost immediately. Rose's home, where Ed expected to stay, had a leaky roof, a small mattress, and the power went out that first night. Ed complained about all of it, loudly. He claimed he had a skin condition that required sheets with at least 1,000 thread count. He complained about the mattress. He complained about rats. He complained about everything. And look, the living conditions were genuinely rough. None of that means he wasn't supposed to pretend that way, but Ed presented everything as an experience that happened to him without ever taking a moment to think about how Rose must have felt being judged by a stranger. Her father simply asked Ed to do one thing before taking her on a trip. He told Ed to treat her well. Ed failed in that task. It was followed by some uncomfortable moments. On their getaway to Palawan, Ed gifted Rose lingerie she hadn't asked for. Then, and this is the moment that really turned the internet against him, he presented her with mouthwash and a toothbrush and told her that her breath wasn't pretty. He framed it as a gift from the heart. Rose was humiliated. Then came the STD test request. Ed told Rose he wouldn't be intimate with her unless she took one, despite the fact that he had never once offered to take one himself. He later admitted he handled it badly, but the damage was done. And through all of this, Ed kept pushing Rose for information about her past relationships, demanding total honesty from her, while hiding his own truth about not wanting children. When he finally told her the truth, that he wanted a vasectomy and had no interest in having more kids, Rose was devastated. She didn't just feel hurt, she felt used. She could not marry a guy who had already determined that, before meeting her in person, that he would never give her the family she needed. Her reply was subtle, yet impactful. "I wanted you to know who I was. I know who you are." Then came her statement that would end everything. "You make me feel small. I do not think you love me. I am through." Ed said he was shocked. He did not see that coming. What he did not see coming was a comeback, and that's the most important thing to understand about this whole situation. The reunion. Receipts and gaslighting. After the show aired, both Ed and Rose were brought back for a virtual reunion special, and it did not go well for Ed. The first thing they couldn't agree on was who reached out to whom after the breakup. Ed claimed Rose messaged him first. Rose said the opposite. Then the host pulled out text messages. In one of those messages, Ed had written to Rose asking if he could come back to the Philippines to see her, while he was supposedly in a committed relationship with someone else. Ed's face in that moment said it all. Ed's reaction was to make a joke out of the situation. However, Rose did not find his joke funny at all. "I cannot accept your apologies because you always hurt me," she said. "You embarrass me. You are a liar." The audience was on Rose's side, completely. Ed also tried to dismiss the fact that he'd lied about his height, calling it just 3 inches. When pressed about lying about not wanting children, he fumbled an excuse about money and raising kids. And when someone pointed out that he was the one worried about money, not Rose, he snapped and told her not to point her finger at him. Classic deflection. Classic gaslighting. Tiffany, the daughter of Ed, also participated in the reunion. However, it is quite normal that she protects her father from any criticism. However, the way she reacted towards Rose was quite disrespectful and patronizing. While Rose tried to justify her statement, Tiffany's reaction to her was, "Oh, I hit a nerve." Tiffany should not have treated Rose that way during the meeting. The allegation that you may be unaware of this is when things become even more serious. In April 2020, just after the show was over and Big Ed became famous, a woman stepped forward on TikTok. The name of this girl was Laura Lee Clemens. She was an ex-coworker of Ed's, and she referred to Ed as a predator. In further videos and interviews, Laura Lee spoke up about her allegations against Ed in detail. Laura Lee was 24 at that point of time. She stated that from her very first day with Ed, he sexually abused her by touching her under the excuse of being funny. And she said it escalated over time. "He found your vulnerability," she explained in one interview, "and he kept testing how far he could go. And when you didn't fight back, he kept pushing further and further." That pattern of escalating behavior, testing limits, and moving forward when someone doesn't push back sounds familiar, doesn't it? It's the same pattern viewers watched play out with Rose on national television. Laura Lee says she came from a difficult home environment and never really learned how to defend herself in situations like that. She wished someone had warned her. The situation, she said, eventually led to something traumatic. She ended up in the hospital afterward. She went to therapy. She reported the misconduct to the company they worked for. She even filed a lawsuit, but the company settled, an NDA was signed, and Ed reportedly kept his job. Now, it's important to acknowledge that these are allegations. Ed has not been criminally charged or convicted, but Laura Lee's account is detailed, consistent, and was given at real personal risk. And when you place it alongside the documented behavior viewers watched on television, a pattern becomes very hard to ignore. Reality TV gave Big Ed fame, and that fame is what pushed Laura Lee to finally speak. Fame, decline, and desperate pleas post-show, Big Ed turned himself into a social media influencer almost instantly. He hopped onto TikTok and acquired well over 1 million followers. He had people coming to him for endorsements. He made cameo videos. He went viral. However, one thing about achieving instant fame from such a controversial TV appearance is that it doesn't take long before the fame wanes.